People ask, what is the difference between obsessive-compulsive disorder and obsessive-compulsive personality disorder? So let's unpack that a little bit today. My name is Dr. Patrick McGrath. I'm the Chief Clinical Officer for NOCD. If you're looking for help for OCD or related conditions, check us out at NOCD.com. OCPD, or obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, is a preoccupation with details and rules. There's schedules, the way things are organized, maybe making lists about something. It's really striving to do something perfectly, and it interferes with the completion of a task. So we may see that people are really excessively devoted to their work and the productivity. This isn't for finances, by the way. And it really results in their inability to either complete the task or to even enjoy it whatsoever, because they're so just devoted to this idea that it has to get done. They can be overly conscientious about how they do things. They are maybe even inflexible about ethics and moral issues and values. And this can really lead to a lot of arguments and maybe even fights that people get in, because there's just this unmoving belief that they are right and everyone else is wrong unless they agree with them. There may even be a slight aspect of hoarding that we see here. They may not like to throw out things or find objects that others may not like or want or have any sentimental value around. The person with OCD will hold on to them and believe that they're going to be useful and it's theirs. They paid money for it. It belongs to them. They will not delegate work to others. They want to do it themselves. I've heard the phrase sometimes from people with OCPD say, you could do it the way that I told you to do it, and I would still do it over anyway because I hadn't done it, and therefore it wouldn't have been right. Even if I watched you do it and know you did it the right way, I'd still have to do it. So often I just tell others to go sit in the corner and color and let me do all of the work, and when we're done, or when I'm done, I should say, then we'll go ahead and go on to the next thing. There could be a lot of miserliness in terms of money that people with OCPD do. They scrounge it and hold on to it, look at it as this is my way to deal with some future disaster, instead of being able to enjoy the moment and think about all the things that could be good and happen now. And there's just a lot of rigidity and stubbornness that goes on. Now, I believe that OCPD, based on what I've described to you, is a really bad name because you'll notice there's not obsessions and there's not compulsions going on in OCPD. So what happens in OCD that's different? Well, in OCD we have obsessions and compulsions. What's an obsession? Thought or an image or urge that we may find to be intrusive or inappropriate, that we don't want, and it leads us to strive to neutralize it in some way with a behavior or an action that could be done mentally or physically. And because of this, we do compulsions. Those are those mental or behavioral acts that are done to try to somehow neutralize those obsessions, with the belief that without doing the neutralization, that thing could really occur. And if it did occur, it would be my fault because I didn't do the compulsion. Now, there's an old term, and frankly, I don't know if they'll even let this in the video that we're making right now, but I'm going to say it anyway, and they might edit it out. But you might hear me say it. There's this old Freudian term called anal retentive, which goes back to Freud's stages of development and is often still referred to of people who like things done their way. It has to be done like that. I think that maybe anal retentive personality disorder would have been a far better name for this than obsessive compulsive personality disorder is, but I didn't write the DSM. Had I, there would have been some changes, let me tell you. But they didn't ask me. So we have obsessive compulsive personality disorder, and I think it ultimately leads to some misconceptions about what OCD is. The idea that OCD really is this orderliness and have to be in certain ways. Can that happen in OCD? Absolutely. Is it the most common presentation of OCD? Not at all. We see far more concerns around what if I were to harm someone or do something inappropriate as ways of OCD appearing than we actually do with this idea that things must be in a certain order in a certain place. TV and film have also really picked up on this, and it's what they show in a lot of movies about obsessive-compulsive disorder, where people have certain ways of doing things. They don't even want you to touch them. There's even some recent movies about a serial killer, and at one point in the movie, he walks past something, stops, turns around, and adjusts it slightly, somehow insinuating that, yes, even serial killers have this taste of OCD or OCPD. These kinds of messages really are scary and unfortunate for the OCD community. I'm going to challenge any of you to send me a newspaper article that starts with, "That person with OCD actually went and did that thing they've been so afraid of for so long because they didn't do a compulsion." You won't find one, right? OCD is not dangerous. It is far from it. In fact, it is a massive fear of, what if I were to be dangerous? What if I were to do something wrong or inappropriate? It's always got those caveats there with those what ifs. OCPD, on the other hand, well, it's interesting because people with personality disorders, they get an entirely different kind of treatment than people with OCD do. You don't do exposure and response prevention therapy really for obsessive compulsive personality disorder. You bring in other types of treatment like dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT, is very helpful for people who have personality disorder issues. Personality disorders are, I don't want to say a lifestyle, but it really is a way that people live their life according to what the personality disorder is really saying, right? It's that rigidity, it's the inability to change. And even if people with it see that it's interfering in their life, there's still this very, very difficult aspect of making any kind of move toward anything other than what the personality disorder is telling them to do or leading them toward. If you find that you have OCPD from what I've described and you would like some help, well, guess what? There are people out there who specialize in obsessive-compulsive personality disorder. I would encourage you to work with them. And if you have OCD, as I've described it, with the obsessions and the compulsions actually happening, well, check us out at NOCD.com, where we have expert therapists available to work with you who are licensed in their states and who are really well trained in exposure and response prevention therapy. I hope that this has been a helpful differentiation for the two, and I look forward to seeing you again.